All right, welcome back. I'd like you to give number 8, the job interview length, a try, and number 9, larger sample, more accurate estimate. So give those a try, pause the video, and we'll come back and take a look at those. All right, so hopefully you had a chance to do a little singing to the monkeys and give that a try. I'm going to go ahead and run through the answers pretty quickly. So if you feel pretty confident and your answers match up, you're welcome to skip the rest of the video. If your answers didn't match up or you just want to make sure that you're doing the process right, I'll actually walk through how to do this using the technology. So we'll look at doing this with the Rossmann Chance app. All right, so for all of these, our distribution is really using this normal mu comma sigma over the square root of n. So that n is our sample size. So the first one, we have a sample size of 1 because we just have a single person. So this is going to be normal, and we're told that the mean is 35 and the standard deviation is 7. And that's just going to be divided by the square root of 1. So that doesn't really change anything. The probability I got for that is 0.2375 or 23.75%. And we'll go over how to get that. And then part 3 says now instead of considering a sample size of 1 person, we're going to consider a sample size of 9 people. So I'm going to have normal. My mean will stay the same. It's still 35, but now I'm going to take my standard deviation of 7 and divide by the square root of 9. So that gives me normal 35, 2.33. So that's what I would put into the applet to calculate my probability, and that means my probability changes to be 0.0159, which is 1.59%. All right, and then number 9, larger sample, more accurate estimate. So this one starts out with a sample size of 100. So our sampling distribution here is going to be normal. We have a mean of 115 and a standard deviation of 25 divided by the square root of 100. So this gives me a normal 115, 2.5. And the probability I got that X bar is between 112 and 118. Okay, so that's within 3 of the mean. So if we're looking at 115 as the mean, we're looking at 3 below and 3 above. Okay, so that's where we get that 112 and 118. Got a probability of 0.7699 or 76.99%. And then on part 3, we're switching to a sample size of 1,000 men. So my sampling distribution is normal, 115, 25 over the square root of 1,000, which gives me normal 115, 0.79. And when I change that standard deviation, now the probability that my sample mean is between 112 and 118 is 0.9999 or 99.99%. Okay, so if you feel really confident about this process and your answers match up, you are certainly welcome to go on to the next video and work the next problems of the classwork. If your answers didn't match up or you just want to make sure that you're doing this process right with the technology, go ahead and keep watching because I'm going to pull up the tech and we're going to take a look at how we put those into the applet. All right, so we're going to go back to the job interview length. And our first part, we had a distribution normal 35, 7. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to change the mean to 35 and my standard deviation to 7. And I'm going to click scale to fit. And then I'll click this first box here. And part 2 says, what is the probability that a first interview will last 40 minutes or longer? So I'll change this X here to be 40. And I'll click enter. And what we see is it highlighted at 40, but it highlighted everything below 40. And we're interested in when the interview is 40 minutes or longer. So I'll click the inequality sign here and flip it over. So now it's highlighting 40, 41, 42, everything that's more than 40 minutes, which is what I want. And so that gives me this probability of 0.2375. Okay, so that's where I got that answer for part 2. And then the difference between part 2 and part 4 is that our sample size has changed. So we went from a single person to 9 people. And what that affects is our standard deviation. So the only thing that's really changed is that my standard deviation went from 7 to 2.33. So I'll change my standard deviation to be 2.33. Now click Scale to Fit. So it's still highlighting this 40 or more. And now my probability is changed to be 0.0159. Okay, so that's where I got that answer for part 4. And then let's look at number 9. So on number 9, we had normal distribution with a mean of 115, so I'll change that. And a standard deviation of 2.5. So change that and click Scale to Fit. And now I'm interested in the probability that it's between 112 and 118. So I'm looking for the probability that my sample mean is between 112 and 118. So you need to click both of these boxes, and I'll switch this to say 112, and the one below it to say 118. And I'll press enter. So now it's highlighted this part between 112 and 118. And below these boxes, you'll notice it says the probability between and the probability outside. We want that probability between. That's where I got the 76.99%. And then the only difference between 2 and 3 is our sample size again. So we went from a sample size of 100 to a sample size of 1,000. And so that just impacts my standard deviation. So my standard deviation went from 2.5 to be 0.79. So I'll change that and click Scale to Fit. And that changes my probability between to be that 0.9999 that I got earlier. Okay, so that's how I got my answers using the app. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or come online on Zoom during office hours or something like that. I'll be happy to help you. Otherwise, let's move on to the next video. We'll do some more of these problems, and hopefully this will make a lot of sense and is hopefully kind of reminiscent of what we learned earlier in this semester.